Welcome to Qatar. Welcome. For those who haven't been to this channel before, my attempt to bring to you the ancient wisdom of the BR Sridhara, the perfected conclusions of truth, as brought by the stalwarts, the guardians of devotion, the guardians of divine conception. And today, the most important book as far as clarity on the matter of Guru, what's called Guru Tattva. So the reality, Tattva, Tat is that, is essentially, let's say, fact, that it's an established thing, and the isness of that, the Tattva, the reality of something. So Guru Tattva, Guru in Sanskrit breaks down to the Gu, first word, and Ru. And what we get from that is heavy and many other distinctions and definitions. But the ultimate distinction and definition as far as practically how to know who is Guru in the world, who is our Guru, and sorry, I'll just clean the camera, I think. Yeah, there we are. And who to know is a Guru is an incredibly vexing question, because a lot of people have only got a sort of, I suppose, a new age kind of concept of Guru, and don't have the heart's conception of what that means. And therefore, as Sri Krishna says in his own words, for those who want to be cheated, I'll provide the cheater. And so it's not surprising that a whole bunch of us want the easy path, want a connection to the divine which suits us, which suits our mentality, our framework, our culture, our habitual way of relating, not only to ourselves and our own environment, which is very limited, but to the all and everything through our limited focus. So this is not terribly helpful for understanding the all, everything, eternal project, task, and locating the sweet spot within that as to how we can relate to it. So let me begin. And first, by way of proper introduction of any fitting topic, high topic, it is right and proper that we seek and draw to us the blessings. So first of all, I welcome you humbly and celebrate your joining us for this conversation. And you're the first one to greet and to extend that to. The second is, who is the proprietors of this information? Who is the ones giving us the clarity? And before I even get into those invocations, I'd just like to give a picture of what this sort of thing looks like, what the picture of the Guru relationship can look like, either in ideation, as an artist can imagine, or practically, as I have here in a photo of my Gurudeva receiving his Harinam, and actually not sure if it was Harinam, but getting his new name with his Gurudeva, Srila Govinda Maharaj pictured here, and my Gurudeva, Srila Trivikram Maharaj here. So that's you get some sense, like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. There's a sense of relationship in receiving, hearing and receiving, oral fit, proper oral reception. And in order for that, some blessings. So we normally in our day, we don't concern ourselves that much with drawing in some type of blessings from the field or others, but it is the habit of the Vaishnavas to rely upon the blessings and the mercy of the Lord. And so in order to do that, and to remind ourselves of who we are and how we fit into it all, best for us, so we avoid our own cogitations and our own machinations of our mind in taking from or taking a part in our own way and taking away from the intent of the author. So let me please begin with what's called Vandana. Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Ukta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sagana Raghunatha Vitam Tadsajivam Sadvitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha. And in drawing these blessings, singing them, and in the original language that its author's intent, delivers the substance, but for our minds, we have to read the translations. Srila Krishna Consciousness says, "First, I offer my respects unto the lotus feet of my initiating spiritual masters and the recruiting spiritual masters and advanced Vaishnavas. Next, I offer my obeisances to my Shastra Gurus, Srila Rupa Goswami," this is in his case, "Srila Rupa Goswami, his elder brother, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, and Jiva Goswami. On a higher platform, I offer my respects unto Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who came with his paraphernalia and associates, along with those great personalities, Sri Nityananda Prabhu and Sri Advaita Acharya. In the highest sense, I offer my obeisances unto the lotus feet of Shri Radha and Govinda, and all the gopis headed by Lalita and Vishaka Devi. Om Gyatamarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshu Militam Jena Tasmei Shri Guruve Namaha. Applying the soothing salve of Sambandha Gyan means knowledge of our relationship. And this is that relationship. A proper acquaintance with the environment my spiritual master has opened my inner eye and thereby rescued me from the darkness of ignorance, fulfilling my life's aspirations, and I offer my respects unto Sri Gurudeva. So also the words themselves is salve to the eye, opening, removing the blindness, the cataract blindness. Guruvabhistya sarupakam guruganya shishya sambhushitam chincha samasta vedani punam shri rupa patanagunam govindabhyam ujvalam varutanam bhakti avitam sundaram vande vishwakuruncha divya bhagava premnohi bijapradam. I offer worship to the holy lotus feet of he who perfectly fulfills the most cherished wish of his divine master, who is adorned resplendently with the blessings of his Guru Varga, who is adept in all Vedic conceptions, both conceivable and inconceivable, who is the faithful follower in the line of Sri Rupa, who is known as Srila Govinda Maharaj, whose beautiful divine figure reveals the mellows of divine love, who is the guru of the entire universe and the bestower of the seed of divine love for the Supreme Lord. And so our blessings and invocations for the Vaishnavas literally can take hours to do in a complete and fully reverent way. I don't know how long it's going to take for me to get through reading this, so my figurings are that I'll start with, hopefully we can get through a couple of chapters, the introduction, and I don't interrupt too much with my own. I don't think I have too much to interrupt with, because most of this will be in fairly clear language, and I won't even bother with reading through the Sanskrit in these particular, where the quotations are given. I'll just stick with the English given here in the book. Now, I put into the notes of this how important and the timeliness of when this book arrived in the world, and how it was clarifying for so many. Let us begin. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Shri Guru and his grace, his divine grace, Bhakti Rakhat Srila Dev Goswami Maharaj. Sri Chaitanya Mudrani Publications, Limut, Malaysia. Sri Guru and His Grace has been compiled from informal talks, darshans, with His Divine Grace Srila Sridhar Maharaj. The service of compilation and editing was performed by His Holiness Bhakti Sudhir Goswami Maharaj. Mukunda Mala Vilas Das. This was first printed in 1983. So the timing is fairly soon after Swami Maharaj left the world in his pastimes. Acknowledgements. It is a rare event when a writing of the stature of Sri Guru and His Grace can be made available for the public. It is rarer still when, prior to its publication, members of the public at large are cognizant of the significance of such a treatise. It is therefore with a sincere appreciation for their timely assistance that we, the publishers, should like to recognize the following below. The contents page. Preface, introduction, first chapter, surrender to Sri Guru. Second, initiation into the transcendental science, descent of the revealed truth, the original Guru, God consciousness versus society consciousness. And this chapter is particularly aimed for those who initiated and these conversations are captured around. Next, chapter 6, I command you become Guru. 7, the initiating spiritual master. 8, separation from Sri Guru. 9, Nama Guru and Mantra Guru. 10, instructing spiritual masters. 11, land of gurus. 12, servant of the servant. 13, lives of the saints. 14, life of the line of Sri Rupa. So here is the spiritual master of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, if one hasn't already encountered this great personality. That is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who we have to thank for everything that we've got. And this is that lineage, this parampara, disciplic succession. Without that, we haven't got any connection. And substantially for the world, the connecting point for most people had been Srila Swami Maharaj, AC Bhaktivedanta Swami, Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Preface. In 10 short years, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada inundated the world with Krishna consciousness. In the following excerpt from one of his essays, he smashes the sectarian misconception that the spiritual master is limited to a particular person, form, or institution, and establishes the universal conception of Guru. Shakshat Damitra Shastya. Yeah, I won't do all of them. In the revealed scriptures, it's declared that the spiritual master should be worshipped like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this injunction is obeyed by pure devotees of the Lord. The spiritual master is the most confidential servant of the Lord. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of our spiritual master. Do it this way. I need to change my mind. Yeah. Gentlemen and ladies, on behalf of the members of the Bombay branch of the Gaudiya Math, let me welcome you all here because you've so kindly joined us tonight in our congregational offerings of homage to the lotus feet of the world teacher Acharya Deva, who is the founder of this Gaudiya mission and is the president Acharya of Shri Shri Vishwa Vaishnav Rajasabha, I mean the eternal divine master, Om Vishnupad Paramhamsa Parivrajak Shri Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. 62 years ago, on this auspicious day, the Acharya Deva made his appearance by the call of Thakur Bhaktivinod at Shri Kshetra, Jagannath Dham, Puri. Gentlemen, ladies, the offering of such an homage as has been arranged this evening to the Acharya Deva is not a sectarian concern. For when we speak of the fundamental principle of Gurudeva or Acharya Dev, we speak of something that is of universal application. There does not arise any question of discriminating my guru from yours or anyone else's. There is only one guru, who appears in an infinity of forms to teach you, me, and all others. In Mukunda Upanishad 1-12, it is said, in order to learn, pardon me, in order to learn the transcendental science, one must approach a bona fide spiritual master in disciplic succession who is fixed in the absolute truth. Thus it has been enjoined herewith that in order to approach the Guru, therefore, in order to receive that transcendental knowledge, one must approach the Guru. Therefore, if the absolute truth is one, about which we think there is no difference or opinion, the Guru cannot be two. The Acharya Dev, to whom we have assembled tonight to offer our humble homage, is not the Guru of a sectarian institution or one out of many differing exponents of the truth. On the contrary, he is the Jagat Guru, or the Guru of us all. The only difference is that some obey him wholeheartedly, while others do not obey him directly. It is said, one in Bhagavatam 11:17-27, one should understand that the spiritual master to be as good as I am, said the Blessed Lord. Nobody should be jealous of the spiritual master or think of him as an ordinary man, because the spiritual master is the sum total of all demigods. That is, the Acharya has been identified with God himself. Has nothing to do with the affairs of this mundane world. He appears before us to reveal the light of the Vedas and to bestow upon us the blessing of full-fledged freedom, after which we should hanker at every step of our life's journey. The transcendental knowledge of the Vedas was first uttered by God Brahma, the creator of this particular universe. From Brahma, the knowledge descended to Narada, from Narada to Vyasadeva, from Vyasadeva to Madhu. And in this process of disciplic succession, the transcendental knowledge was transmitted by one disciple to another, till it reached Lord Gauranga. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, who posed as the disciple and successor of Sri Ishwarapuri. The present Acharya Dev is the 10th disciplic representative from Srila Rupa Goswami. The original representative of Lord Chaitanya, who preached this transcendental tradition in its fullness. The knowledge that we receive from our Gurudeva is not different from that imparted by God himself and the succession of the Acharyas in the preceptorial line of Brahma. We adore this auspicious day of Sri Vyasa Puja Tirthi, because it is the Acharya is the living representative of Vyasadeva, the divine compiler of the Vedas, Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, and the Srimad Bhagavatam. We cannot know anything of the transcendental region by our limited, perverted method of observation and experiment. But all of us can lend our eager ears for the oral reception of the transcendental sound transmitted from that region to this, through the unadulterated medium of Sri Gurudeva or Sri Vyasadeva. Therefore, gentlemen, we should surrender ourselves today at the feet of the representative of Sri Vyasadeva for the elimination of all our differences bred by our unsubmissive attitude. It is accordingly said in the Gita, just approach in chapter 4, verse 34, just approach the wise and bona fide spiritual master, surrender unto him first, and try to understand him by inquiries and service. Such a wise spiritual master will enlighten you with transcendental knowledge, for he has already known the absolute truth. To receive transcendental knowledge, we must completely surrender ourselves to the real Acharya in a spirit of ardent inquiry and service. Actual performance of service to the Absolute under the guidance of the Acharya is the only vehicle by which we can assimilate transcendental knowledge. Today's meeting, offering our humble services and homage to the feet of the Acharya Deva, will enable us to be favored with the capacity of assimilating transcendental knowledge, so kindly transmitted by him to all persons without distinction. Gentlemen, although it is imperfectly that we have been enabled by his grace to understand the sublime messages of our Acharya Deva, we must admit that we have realized definitely that the divine message from his holy lips is the congenial thing for suffering humanity. All of us should hear him patiently. If we listen to the transcendental sound without unnecessary opposition, he will surely have mercy upon us. The Acharya's message is to take us back to our original home, back to God. Let me repeat, therefore, that we should hear him patiently, follow him in the measure of our conviction, and bow down at his lotus feet for releasing us from our present causeless unwillingness for serving the Absolute and all souls. Sitting at the feet of the Acharya Deva, let us try and understand from this transcendental source of knowledge what we are. What is this universe? What is God? And what is our relationship with him? The message of the Lord Chaitanya is the message for the living entities and the message of the living world. Lord Chaitanya did not bother himself for the upliftment of this dead world, which is suitably named Matyaloka, the world where everything is destined to die. He appeared before us 450 years ago to tell us something of the transcendental universe, where everything is permanent and everything is for the service of the Absolute. But recently, Lord Chaitanya has been misrepresented by some unscrupulous persons, and the highest philosophy of the Lord has been misinterpreted to be the cult of the lowest type of society. So, we are glad to announce tonight that our Acharya Deva, with his usual kindness, saved us from this horrible type of degradation, and therefore we bow down at his lotus feet with all humility. We're happy that we have been relieved of this horrible type of malady by the mercy of his divine grace. He is our eye-opener, our eternal Father, our eternal preceptor, and our eternal guide. Let us therefore bow down at his lotus feet on this auspicious day. Gentlemen, although we are like ignorant children in the knowledge of transcendence, still my Gurudeva has kindled a small fire within us to dissipate the inevitable darkness of empirical knowledge. We are now so much on the safe side, that no amount of philosophical argument by the empiric schools of thought can deviate us an inch from the position of our eternal dependence on the lotus feet of his divine grace. Gentlemen, had he not appeared before us to deliver us from the thraldom of this gross worldly delusion, surely we would have remained for lives and ages in the darkness of helpless captivity. Had he not appeared before us, we would not have been able to understand the eternal truth of the sublime teaching of Lord Chaitanya. Personally, I have no hope for any direct service of the coming crores of births in the sojourn of crores, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. But I am confident that someday or other I shall be delivered from this mire of delusion. And that's mire, M-I-R-E. So the stickiness in which I am present, so deeply sunk. Therefore, let me with all my earnestness pray at the lotus feet of my Divine Master to allow me to suffer the lot for which I am destined due to my past misdoings, but to let me have this power of recollection that I am nothing but a tiny servant of the Almighty Absolute Godhead, realized through this unflinching mercy of my Divine Master. Let me therefore bow down at his lotus feet with all the humility at my command. Abhay Charan Das for members Sri Gurudeva, Bombay. So that's lecture originally published in The Harmonist in 1936 on the Advent Day of His Divine Grace on Vishnupad Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur by Swami Maharaja. Introduction. His Divine Grace Bhakti Rakshak Shradev Goswami Maharaj, founder Acharya of Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. So here's a picture of him in his initiation, I think in 1934. Get up close for you. There we get it. Yeah. There he is. The form of the form breaker. Introduction. To err is human. To err is inevitable for all. Being not perfect, still, no one wants to remain imperfect. There is an element within all that is animate and tends towards perfection. If it were not so, we would not feel no want at all. We would feel no want at all, pardon me. Our tendency towards perfection is certainly very weak and limited. Otherwise, we could attain the goal at once. Our limited capacity and tendency for perfection makes room for the guide or the guru. The imperfect is not so if it is not in need of help, and that also from beyond itself. The perfect is not perfect if he cannot assert himself or help others, and that too of his own accord. So the guidance to perfection or absolute truth is necessarily a function of the Absolute himself, and the divine agent through whom this function manifests is Sri Guru, or the divine guide. For a seeker of the absolute truth, submission to the Guru is unavoidable. A class of thinkers believes, however, that when scientific research is possible, why cannot higher spiritual knowledge also be evolved from within? Such people are ignorant of the most essential nature of absolute knowledge, that he alone is the absolute subject, and that all else, including ourselves, constitutionally stand only as an object to his omniscient vision. It is impossible for the eye to see the mind. It can have some connection with the mind only when the latter comes to mind it. In a similar way, our connection with absolute knowledge depends mainly on his sweet will. We must solely depend on his agent, or the spiritual master through whom he likes to distribute himself. It's very personal. Our human society, with its finest culture, forms but an infinitesimal part of the absolute dynamic whole. How, except by the direct and positive method of revelation, dare we hope to comprehend or evolve? Pardon me if I misread something. I'm finding my reading, I probably need glasses at this point. Just with enough light, I'll get by that, I reckon. Our human society, with its finest culture, forms but an infinitesimal part of the dynamic absolute. How, except by the direct and positive method of revelation, dare we hope to comprehend or evolve any conception of the supernatural knowledge of the unconditioned infinite? All intellectual giants prove themselves but pygmies before the absolute omniscient omnipotence who reserves the right to give himself away through his own agents alone. To our best knowledge and sincerity, however, we should see not to submit. We should see not to submit to a false agent. Here, of course, we can't help ourselves very much, because in our present state, we are mainly guided by our previous sanskar, or acquired nature. Birds of the same feather flock together. Yet, although we are generally overpowered by habit, there is still the possibility of free choice to a certain extent, especially in the human species. Otherwise, correction becomes impossible, and punishment mere vengeance. Reality can assert itself. Light does not require darkness for its positive proof. The sun by itself can establish its supremacy over all other lights. Before an open and unbiased eye, the Sadguru, the real guide, shines above all professors of phenomenon. Sri Guru manifests himself mainly in a twofold way, as the director from within and the preceptor from without. Both functions of the Absolute help an individual soul, a disciple, to reach the absolute goal in our fallen state. We cannot catch proper direction from the inner guide. So the merciful manifestation of the preceptor without is our soul help and hope. But at the same time, it is only by the grace of the Guru within that we can recognize the real preceptor without and submit to his holy feet. A bona fide disciple must always remain fully awake to the fact that his highest spiritual fortune is but a gracious grant from the Absolute Lord, and not a matter of right to be demanded or fought out. Constitutionally, we are equipped only to be proper recipients of God's favor. In this connection, it should be clearly understood that an individual soul can never substantially be the same as the absolute person. Not even in his liberated or fully realized condition can an individual soul be one with Godhead. The misconception of oneness has been introduced by the slothful non-discrimination of the absolute personality from the luminous orb around his eternal, spiritual, and blissful home. In fact, an individual soul constitutes only a part of a particular power, an intermediate value of the Supreme Lord. And as such, he is capable of being converted from both sides. He differs from the absolute entity both in quantity and quality, and is merely a dependent entity on the absolute. In other words, the absolute, Lord Krishna, is the master, and an individual jiva soul is his constitutional subordinate or servant. Such a relationship is constant and really wholesome for the jiva. The apprehension of slavery does not arise because his free choice and immense positive gain. Very important to distinguish that, because the word das in Sanskrit literally means slave, but to be a slave of the divine is a positive prospect, as opposed to a material slave, which is quite a miserable prospect. The apprehension of slavery does not arise because of his free choice and immense positive gain. The freedom and individuality of the jiva is not only unharmed by surrender to the absolute good, but they really thrive in him alone. Individual freedom and interest are the part and parcel of those who are of the absolute, and so they are quite at home there, as a fish is at home in water, or an animal in a healthy atmosphere. But the freedom, as well as all the other qualities of the Supreme Personality, are unlimited and transcendental. And so, only by their partial functions, they harmonize all relative entities. Sri Guru is not exclusively the same as the Supreme Lord himself, but he fully represents the essence of the whole normal potency, and embodies the most comprehensive and excellent service and favor of the Lord. Most importantly, as he is the fittest servitor of the Lord, he is empowered by the Lord to reinstate all misguided souls to their best interest. So, Guru is the divine messenger of immortal hope and joy in this mortal and miserable world. His advent is the most auspicious and happy event to the suffering animation, and can be compared to the rising of the morning star that can guide the traveler lost in the desert. A gentle touch of Sri Guru's merciful hand can wipe off the incessant tears from all weeping eyes. A patriot or philanthropist makes the problem only worse in his frantic and futile attempt to alleviate the deep-rooted pain of a suffering soul, as an ignorant doctor does in eagerly handling an unfortunate patient. Oh, the day when this poor soul realizes the causeless grace of Sri Gurudeva, Swami BR Sridhara. This essay was published in 1934 in the Harmonist. Chapter 1. Surrender to Sri Guru. Take a drink. Even great scholars are perplexed in understanding what is good and what is bad, what to accept and what to dismiss. King Karma, King Kamesi, Kavapyo, Pi Atra Mohita. Even the great scholars fail to understand their real necessity. This material world is a jungle of perplexities, where the soul has accepted so many different kinds of bodies in different types of consciousness. In the laws of Manu, it is written, there are 900,000 kinds of aquatics, 2 million kinds of trees and plants, 1.1 million kinds of insects and reptiles, 1 million kinds of birds, 3 million kinds of four-legged beasts, and 400,000 kinds of human species. So quite a variety, right? And the trees are in such hopeless position as a result of all their own karma. Their feelings of pain and pleasure are similar to ours. Their souls are not of a lower standard. Still, they're in such a deplorable position as a result of their own karma. They have no one to blame but themselves. This is the state of affairs in this external world. We are living in an environment which is afflicted with serious misconception, misunderstanding, misguidance, and misbehavior. How are we to ascertain what is good and what is bad, what we should aspire after and what we should reject? Innumerable alternatives have thronged in a crowd, coming to influence us. And when this area, covered by illusion and influenced by misunderstanding, is filled with such diversity, how can we hope to know the infinite spiritual world of Vaikuntha? With what attitude should we approach that realm which is transcendental, beyond the realm of the senses and the mind, Adhokshaja, the genuine Guru? We must accept any way and any alliance that will help us gain entrance into that realm. We shall try to have even the slightest connection with that perfect goal of our innate aspiration. We are helpless. We are hopeless in the midst of disappointment. We are in extreme danger. We rely on our free will, our capacity of selection for our own good. But it is too minute and helpless to guide us. What danger we are in. All around us are witnesses to this danger. How important is a real guru who can guide us to our real welfare? We're in the midst of different forces that are drawing us, attacking us towards different directions. So proper guidance is the most valuable and most important thing for us all. If we accept direction from anywhere and everywhere, we will be misguided. Therefore, we must be careful to get proper direction. That direction has been given by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. To understand transcendental knowledge, you must approach a self-realized soul, accept him as your spiritual master, and take initiation from him. Inquire submissively and render service unto him. Self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you, for they have seen the truth. Qualifications of a disciple. Here Krishna is given the standard by which we can understand what is what. From a bona fide source. The standard to measure truth or untruth must come not from a vitiated, vulnerable plane, but from a real plane. To realize that, we have these three qualifications: pranipat, pariprashna, and seva. Pranipat means that we must surrender to this knowledge, for it is not an ordinary class of knowledge, which is a subject we can make our object. It is super subjective. We may be the subjects in this mundane world, but we will have to become objects to be handled by the super knowledge of that plane. Pranipat means that one approaches a spiritual master saying, I am finished with the experience of this external world. I have no charm for anything in this plane where I have already traveled. Now I am offering myself exclusively at your altar. I want to have your grace. In this mood, we should approach that higher knowledge. Pariprashna means honest, sincere inquiry. We must inquire not with the tendency of discussion or in a mood of argument, but all our efforts should be concentrated in a positive line to understand truth. Without the spirit of doubt and suspicion, with full attention, we should try to understand that truth, because it is coming from a higher plane of reality that we have never known. Finally, there is sevaya, or service. This is the most important thing. We are trying to gain this knowledge so that we can get help from that plane, not so that we can utilize that experience for living here. Rather, we must give our pledge to serve that plane. Only with this attitude may we approach that plane of knowledge. We shall serve that higher knowledge. We won't try to make it serve us. Otherwise, we won't be allowed to enter into that domain. Absolute knowledge won't come to serve this lower plane. We must offer ourselves to be used by him, not that we shall try to use him in our selfish way to satisfy our lower purpose. With that mood of service, we shall dedicate ourselves to him, not that we shall dedicate himself, not that he will dedicate himself to satisfy our lower animal purpose. So with this attitude, we shall seek the plane of real knowledge and receive the standard understanding. And then we can know what is what. We can have proper estimation of our environment. This is Vedic culture. Absolute knowledge has always been imparted by this process alone, and never by the intellectual approach. Srila Prabhupada Bhaktisiddhanta used to give the analogy of the bee. Honey is in a bottle, cork is in its place. The bee has taken his seat on the glass. He tries to taste the honey by licking the bottle, but just as the bee cannot taste the honey by licking the outside of the glass, the intellect cannot approach the world of spirit. We may think that we have attained it, but it is not possible. A barrier is there, like the glass. Intellectual achievement is not real achievement of higher knowledge. Only through faith, sincerity, and dedication can we approach that higher realm and become a member. We can enter that higher plane only if they grant us a visa and admit us. Then we can enter that land of divine living. So a candidate must have these 3 qualifications before he can approach the truth, which is on the higher plane of absolute reality. He can approach the absolute truth only with an attitude of humility, sincerity, and dedication. There are similar statements in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Vedas, and in the Upanishads it said, approach a spiritual master. Do not go to him hesitatingly or haphazardly, but with clear and earnest heart. Spiritual life, a one-way ticket. One should not approach the spiritual master cutting a return ticket. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada used to always say, you can come here cutting a return. You have come here cutting a return ticket. We must not approach a spiritual master with this attitude. Rather, we should think that we have seen everything, that we have full experience of this mortal world, and that we have nothing to aspire after here. With this clear conscience, we should approach the Guru. I would like to expand on that a lot, but that is a very significant point. If we can appreciate that, again, like if we are cheating with this and we are not sincere, then we will fail, right? And this is that reason why. That is the only way for us to live. This world is mortal. There is no means, no possibility of living here, and yet the will to live is an innate tendency everywhere. I only want to live and to save myself. I am running to real shelter. With this earnestness, the disciple will bring his spiritual master the necessary materials for sacrifice. He won't go to his spiritual master only to trouble the Guru, but will approach him with his own necessities already supplied. He will go there with his own bed and baggage, not that he will show some kindness to the spiritual master and give him name and fame and by becoming his disciple. And what will be the spiritual master's position? Will be well versed in revealed truth, not in ordinary information. Revelation in the many shades has been spread in the world from the upper realm, but the Guru must have some spacious, graphic knowledge. He must have extensive knowledge of the revealed truth, and he must always be practicing real spiritual life. He must always be practicing real spiritual life. His activities are all connected with spirit, not with the mundane world. He is concerned with Brahman, the plane which can accommodate everything, the fundamental basis of everything, Brahmanishtam. Not that he is leading his life with any mortal mundane reference. He always lives in the transcendental plane and keeps himself in connection with that plane his whole life. Whatever he does, he will do with that consciousness. This is the version of the Upanishads. Maya means misconception. So in Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21, it is said, Maya means misconception. We are living in the midst of misconception. Our understanding of the environment is based on a complete misconceived set of ideas and thoughts. We have no proper conception of anything in the absolute sense. Our ideas are all relative, provincial selfishness, and have been imposed on the environment, and we are living under that misconception. When one comes to the conclusion that everything around him is mortal and that everything will vanish, then, with that mood, he will feel the necessity of approaching the Guru, the divine guide and preceptor, and with the purpose of the inquiry, what is the highest good for me? With that inquiry, he will approach the spiritual master. And who will he approach? one who is not only well versed in the precepts of the revealed scriptures, but who, has also come in contact with the revealed truth, one who is conversant with the very object of the scriptures and who has practical experience, who is established in pure consciousness, is a genuine guru. One should approach such a guide for his own relief, to understand what is the highest benefit in the world and how to attain it. This is necessary. It is real. It is not imaginary. At the same time, it is difficult. The absolute truth must be sought out through a real process. Otherwise, we shall go the wrong way and then say, oh, there's nothing there. It is not real. So only if we follow this real process of understanding the truth will we experience the real nature of divinity. Chapter 2. Let me just check the timing, see how we're doing. Okay, so one chapter, an intro in a bit under an hour. Might leave it at that and we'll continue chapter 2 soon. So thank you for now, and I'll end this one and start the other one soon.